Hello lovelies. In this video we will be going through our emotional empowerment kit for Bravery and entering all of our crystals onto our crystal grid. So you're going to need your kit, and I would also recommend grabbing your grid. Now with your grid there are some symbolism that is already in here, and I'm always curious to see what jumped out at you first. So if you look closely, there's several different images in here, and I always get messages that people find hidden things in my pictures. So I love that because it always shows that there's so much more depth to what we're creating than is intended sometimes by our conscious self. So with your grid, you're going to want to start out by tuning into what it is that you're invoking bravery for. What's going on in your world? Is it bravery to love again, or to be open to love again? Is it bravery to speak up and voice out injustices? Is it bravery to finally start sharing your heart and sharing your own wisdoms? Is it a bravery to anchor in and call in what you're choosing to manifest? Is it a bravery to allow yourself to be seen, or to try a new adventure or a new talent, or even try something that you've never tried before and you've always thought were crazy? Or maybe it's to travel somewhere magical. What is your intention with this bravery kit? Once you have an idea of what that intention is, you'll be ready for your crystal grid, because it will change just a little bit depending on it. So with your grid, a few things I want to point out, and you may have noticed these, you may not have. So we have the flower of life. Anytime we see the flower of life, it's always about connection and creation. So that's why we have it in the center of our grid. What are we creating? What are we connecting with? What are we wanting to see ripple out into all the areas of our lives? Because even if we're choosing to be brave in career, say this circle, we're also choosing to be brave in our personal development, in our spiritual connection, in our deeper relationships, in our relationship with money, in our relationship with the world, in our influence on the world and our ancestors. All of those areas are affected by one single circle. And so pay attention to how being brave in one area opens up the bravery for many other areas. And it's funny because with this one, funny story, is I originally had the dragon here, and then I had a snake under here. And so the dragon was eating the tail of the snake, and the snake was eating the tail of the dragon. A powerful symbol that ties into with alchemy and transmutation, and especially the snake, because if you think about it, the dragon is actually the evolved form of snake with my practice. And so the snake is very interesting because the snake is tied in with being both a sacred animal and a devilish animal. And the reason for that, and the reason that so many cultures are like, oh no, snakes are bad, and other cultures are like, oh my, snakes are great, is because the snake dwells mostly in the shadows. It has the ability to go underneath the ground in the underworld where the dead are. And so it also has the ability to come back up and bask in the light. The snake also sheds its skin, and you've got to imagine how it must feel to be a snake, because as you are getting ready to shed, you're probably feeling very itchy, very confined, very uncomfortable. And the more itchy and the more uncomfortable, the more you wiggle. And the more you wiggle, the more that skin comes loose, and then eventually you emerge all fresh and new. A dear friend of mine has snakes, and she can always tell when they're about ready to shed, but she can also tell when they're too dry, because they shed and they're itchy and it comes off in pieces and flakes and some big old mess. Where when they get enough water, when they're nurtured, when they feel safe to shed, the whole skin will stay intact and they just slide right out of it. And so it's really powerful when you think of that, how easy it is to just slide right out when we feel nurtured and taken care of. And also when we're not back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and we're like, oh, I'll step on my skin, oh no, it's too itchy, I'll stay. I'll step out, I'll stay. And then it just comes off in chunks and pieces, and we don't actually get what we want because everything's in chunks and pieces. So anchoring in that beautiful snake medicine And you can see the snake is spinning in the fire. So it depends on where you're at and how you interpret it, because we want these to be open to interpretation. Maybe the snake represents a challenge for you that's in your shadow. Maybe it represents you. Maybe it represents a rebirth. But tuning into what that is, because you're going to put a crystal there depending on how you feel about it. The dragon is powerful because dragons are very much about transmuting energy. So I've had many deep ceremonies and meditations where everything just feels in friction, and it feels tight, and it feels hard, and it feels funky or stagnant. And invoking dragon energy, it just transmutes and it moves and it shifts, because the dragon just burns through and grabs and moves and whirlwinds. And that's kind of the energy I was hoping to convey here. So it's also the evolved form of the snake. So as the snake starts in our kundalini, which we have a lot of in this kit, you know, obviously there's penises in here or bishops, if you want to just call them bishops for chess. In that, there's a lot of this masculine energy. There's a lot of the rising from that support system, because when you feel supported, you do want to rise up. And, you know, if we think about tying in our little male crystals here, you think about rising up. They can't give their gifts unless they rise up first. And so I know it's funny that we included them in here, and it, you know, hopefully you giggled and you were not offended. If you were offended, I love you. And maybe that's the bravery, is to look at that and not be so upset by it, right? But I think most of you probably laughed. And so with that rising energy, that's what we want. So that's the snake. In Kundalini, you have two snakes that start at your base and they spiral up like a DNA strand, and then they come out your crown. And where do they go after that? Well, they evolve into a dragon. And so it's the snake to the dragon. It's that partnership, that pairing, that giving your gift to the world. So with our grid, and as far as placing it, I'll just walk you through it. So you're going to want your crystals. You're going to want your orgone. You're going to want both of your shungites, your lapis. Oh, apparently there's a shungite. Okay. So shungites are the miracle stone. They're the deep healers. So if there's a place in your life that is calling in deep healing and deep protection, that's where we're going to place them. So for me, I'm just going to throw mine. Let me get another one here. Okay. Luckily, we have abundance. So for me, I would recommend, if my purpose was, maybe I have a project. I'll pick one of my projects. One of my projects is a book. I have a book. It's called Reclaiming the Drum. It's epic. It's fierce. And I love it so much. And yet I get really busy and I don't get a chance to finish it. And I would like to have the bravery to conquer finishing it, to, you know, cutting aside things that need to be cut aside so that I can create more time. So if that's my intention with my grid, I'm going to first ask for protection. And I'm going to put that protection right on the dragon's head. So I want to be able to make sure that the information coming through is pure and is the highest good of all. So I'm going to ask that my mind is protected. I'm also going to ask that my home and my family are protected while I am in my bubble of channeling and creation. So the dragon would be the protection. And then the healing, I'm going to use the snake head, because for me, it is healing by writing. That's how I heal. That's how I understand the world. And so, and I know that there's massive healing that's coming. However, if there's something in my shadow, being the snake, that is going to stop me from receiving my healing, that needs to be healed, maybe, that will stop me from giving my gift to the world, then I'm going to ask snake to show me the shadow, show me what needs to shed, show me what needs to let go, show me what needs to be healed. So that's going to go right on that snake's head. And then we're going to pick out our penis. So depending on which one you have, it was based on what spirit wanted you to have. So you have the dragon one, which is grounding and earth, and it's the green one. It's kind of dark green and light green spotted, like a dragon scale. Okay. Or you have lapis, which means royalty, crown chakra, and throat chakra. So maybe it's needing to speak up. Maybe it's needing to be grounded and anchored in who I am. Or maybe it's needing to invoke angels, Christ energy with the bloodstone, that deep healing and that deep compassion. So if I'm really frustrated that I haven't finished my book yet, that would be the one. I'm actually, because it's tied in with my throat, I'm actually going to use the lapis. And since I've got my shungite offering a barrier and a protection, then I'm going to use my penis crystal to be an activator. And so I'm actually going to turn it north for what is being created, and direction and focus. So I would love direction and focus with my words, therefore my lapis is going north. If I'm looking for a clearer perspective and understanding and compassion, I can also put that north. Or if I'm looking at what I'm saying goodbye to, so you can turn it ding, 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 so that north, south, east, west can go in the direction you want. So if I'm looking at more healing in myself, I'm actually going to do it in the west to see what needs to go. And I'll put that one there. Or if I'm looking at grounding, anchoring, and centered in who I am, I would pick either north or east for my dragon, just depending on which direction you feel like you need it. So typically, and with the crystal grids, do what feels good to you. But typically, east is what you're calling into. East is direction. East is receiving. It's the enlightening. Most ceremonies always start with the east. It's even said that Christ, when he's supposed to come again, he comes from the east. It's also said, like in medicine ceremonies, the creator, you'll always start with the east. It's the receiving. Then you have south. South is tied in with the serpent. It's tied in with letting things go, and knowing when to shed. But it's also tied in with the water and the flow of things and letting things actually flow. You know, when things go south, well, where do you go in that shadow work? So shadow, south, those kind of go together. And then you have the west. And I like the west because the west tells me that with every setting sun, you know that there is a sunrise coming. You know that there's a tomorrow. There's a celebration to be had for the experience you got to have. And so for me, I love west for when I need to graciously say goodbye to things with grace and ease and wonderful memories. And then north is very directional, you know, true north. Where's your direction? Where are you heading? Where's your action? Because this is a very action-oriented kit, most of you will want to put your penis on the north. We're just gonna laugh through this. I'm really waiting for all the messages that say, guess what? I'm in a meeting, and guess what I had in my bra? My penis crystal. So, and Rick and I went back and forth. We were gonna do a big, huge candle, and you know, it was me that was like, I don't know if I'm brave enough for that. So it was very brave for us to include this in here. So hopefully you all are celebrating and loved it. If you are not, I love you. And you just get to experience what it's like when somebody else chooses to be brave. One fun fact about Lapis Lazuli is it helps with the balancing of the physical, the mental, and the emotional and energetic bodies. So anytime there's disease or there's emotional struggles, usually means something is off. And so it can help to balance those. It can also help to really open up that throat chakra even more, and also your crown and your third eye, being able to channel better and facilitate divine information coming in and coming through. Is definitely tied in with that throat. It's also tied in with the timelines. So when it's time to make a new beginning, when it's time to shift and pivot and choose something different, we definitely want to pull in. So you can use just the pendant to charge for your kit. So that's going to go opposite of wherever you put your penis. So for me, my penis is north, so it's south. So it's letting me know maybe language that I need to use to say, hey, this door is closed. Hey, this door, this experience is no longer serving me, or this relationship is no longer serving both of us. Okay, and that's going to go south. Night especially helps with attunement and meditation. So it's going to help to balance you out, especially that throat chakra, and just making sure that any fears or negative energy or negative communications can move through you and not stay harbored. So that's really powerful too. And it's also self-cleansing. So you don't have to charge it and clean it like you would a normal crystal, which is really, really great. All right, love. So now we get to our Oregon, the little pyramid. So as I mentioned in the unboxing, there is clear quartz in here, which offers clarity and direction. And then the copper coil is a protective and amplifier spiral that goes all the way up through the top. You also have all the elements. So you have water elements in here, you have earth elements, you have fire elements, and you have wind. Each of them have at least one feather. Oh, this one, the feather's in the bottom. Each has at least one feather, some have a little bit more. And there's also protective elements in here. So there's dragon's blood sage, which helps purify your passions moving forward. It also has rosemary. There's a little bit right here on this one. Let's see, this one has, yeah, there's some rosemary flowers there. So it's really fun to kind of see what is in yours, because each one is 100% unique. Most of them have the flower of life on them as well. Just because that's, again, amplifying what we've created here. You also have your word. So there's a focused word. This word is a message from your guides of one way that you can bring more bravery in. So I really like this one because it says trust. Oh, and the other one says enough. So understanding I'm enough is going to pull in a lot of bravery. I'm going to use, well, and then my book, trusting that things will all work out. I'm going to go with enough, because my intention, again, is finishing my book project that I've been working on for years and is 90% there, but also understanding as it is, it will be enough. And owning that. You'll also notice several crystals in here as well. So the crystals we have in here are tiger's eye, red tiger's eye. There's turquoise. Each one actually has, oh, I have a rainbow. That's cool. Each one actually has labradorite, which opens up that third eye. You also have celestite in there, which is the crown chakra. We also have rose quartz, which is your heart chakra. We have malachite in here, which is the green stone. You can kind of see some in the bottom of mine here. And that green stone is going to help with extra energies too. It also helps with EMFs like the shungite, very similar, but it's going to definitely help with that supportive core. So we have basically crystals for each of the chakras, but that are meant to amplify your support in feeling brave. You can also see the little black specks in here in this one. The black specks are actually a smudging that I did specifically over these kits and over the organs. And so I actually took the ashes from the smudging and put them in just to anchor in that medicine and that intention of singing and blessings, so that this is an amplified base that you can pretty much take anywhere with you if you need to. Oh, you can see in the very top I have some labradorite. That's what's reflecting, because that's what we want to amplify the most. Now in this one, I'm going to put it in the center of mine. And it's interesting what you see in the center. You can choose to see the butterfly and look at transformation. You know, the lumpy caterpillar doesn't understand how beautiful it is or how special it is, because most of the time they can't even see their own wings, right? And so it's about going through the transformation and flying, even though you don't get to fully see what other people see, but you fly anyways and you shine anyways. Or you can tune into the spider in the center. Spiders I love because they're the weavers of dreams, and it's kind of like the spiders weaving that flower of life. The spider medicine is very powerful. It's actually one of my totem animals. And the reason for that is because the spider weaves the web and then waits patiently. She's not out there making all this action, and wasting all this effort. She waits patiently. And if nothing happens, then she'll build another web and make another dream and wait patiently. And so she's moving through each action, but once something comes and catches in her web, she's on it. Pew! Focused action, direct, there, and satisfied. And so very powerful spider medicine. If you don't like spiders, look at the butterflies. And then that's going to go in the center, because you want to amplify all of the external circle, because we have like a little circle here. We want to amplify those and pull everything into this point and envision it shooting out. So that is how I would set my grid. And I do like to put it so that there's a point to each of the points, and you can kind of turn it till it feels right. Maybe you want to see your word as you're passing by while your grid's charging. Maybe you don't want to see it. Maybe you want to see the crystals or the gear to reminding you how you want to work, and what actions to take and how everything is going to lock in to place and help make it more powerful. For your crystal grids, you want to let them set for at least 24 hours, but you can set them longer if you would like. It'd be really powerful to do right before a big event. So something that maybe is adding stress, a hard conversation that you're going to have, do it the day before. If you are maybe going to court for something, do it do it probably sooner than the day before, but holding that intention of, okay, we need this. So for me, I'm going to do it now, and then I'm going to go do my writing while it's charging. I'm going to first start with the intention of my quill. So you can choose to do your quill several ways. You can cut the tip, you can slice it and slide your nib right in there, or you can just place your nib on and add some adhesive, some glue, or some tape around it. But it's kind of a personal preference. So sit with it and see what feels good to you. And then you're going to write down your powerful bravery manifesto. When you're writing these things down, be careful of the verbiage you use, because if you think about it, words are powerful. Words are a spell. Like, you cast into existence what you write. And so allowing yourself to write things that will bring in more of what you want, not more of what you don't want. So for example, if I write, oh, I hope I don't get too busy and I never finish my book. I hope I have enough time. That's actually calling in not having enough time because I'm worried about it. So instead, maybe I would write about what it would feel like to have this experience, or perhaps why it's so important. And maybe why I feel called to it. I feel called to write this book because I feel like there is a lot of sacred information that has been lost. And the sacred drumming of our sisters is one of the most powerful, life-changing experiences that many people have had. And I feel like their stories need to be told. And I feel like many of us have a drum and we don't know how to drum with it or what to do with it. So we just let it sit on a shelf and look pretty rather than using this powerful, sacred medicine. And so perhaps I would write these words down in mine. You could also do an old-fashioned letter to yourself or a loved one, or maybe someone who has passed away, and writing about something you're excited about, or something that you're calling bravery, or maybe there's something that needs to be said that you've never spoken to another person. Maybe it's a trauma and it needs to be written out, acknowledged, and maybe burned. But really playing with it and setting aside time, because if we want to be brave in the real world, in this 3D existence, but we're not willing to take the time to claim what we desire, to claim what the end result is, then there's not really any purpose of being brave. We just want to shut down and be timid and pull away and withdraw and retract, where instead the world needs the gift that you have. It needs that essence, and we want to put that essence back out into the world with a focused, clear intention. I love you guys. Happy gridding, and I can't wait to hear how it went with your bravery kit. I'll see you in the next video.